So I got a really great question from a user about how to handle these types of tasks that aren't really over after I take action on it. So let's say they have to send an email, and after they send it, they're waiting for a reply. And maybe they also want to follow up after a couple of days if they have not gotten a response. And this user says they don't really want to manage this task over time and just have it clutter up their list when they're just waiting on some kind of action from a third person. But it also doesn't feel right to them to check it off because technically the task isn't completed. So here's how I deal with these tasks, and I've actually have a couple of rules that also apply to just tasks in general to make your life a lot easier. So the first rule is that I always define tasks as the clear action steps that I have to take. So instead of writing a task as return table, I would figure out what is the first step, clear specific step that I have to take to return a table. And let's say in this scenario, I have to email the company about returning the table, wanting to return a table, and then they're going to reply to me with some clear instructions. So I make this task email company X about return of table. Now, when your tasks are really focused in on the action that you have to take, it actually makes it a lot easier for you to take that action because there's clarity, and it also becomes easier to manage it because you can estimate the time that it takes you to do this specific action step much more easily than a task about returning a table. That's just very vague, and it's actually a project because it includes multiple action steps. But whether or not you want to really set this up as a project is kind of up to you. Personally, for smaller things like that, I don't set them up as a project because I do have a lot of projects with Marvin and they tend to be much bigger in scope. So I don't set them up as a project, but you certainly can if you feel like it gives you the security that you always know that this is still something you want to do and it still requires action, still ongoing. And only when everything is done about this, you can complete the project. So the second thing about having tasks be really specific action step is that then I can also always check them off when I've completed that action. So we don't have to worry about, do we have to check this off because the overall task isn't done yet? Because as soon as I've completed this action step, I can check it off. Now, of course, checking off is kind of the best part about having a to-do list. Most people find this really satisfying and fun. And it also gives you a record of what you've done. And this is something I've actually used a couple of times where I needed to go back and check if I have completed something and when I've completed something. So it can be really helpful to do it this way because it also gives you a clear record of the actions that you've taken. Now, in this scenario, the question is now, okay, what do I do about this next step if I want to maybe follow up on it or once this company replies to me? And personally, I like to follow up with people and just check up on things. Otherwise, it can be very easy to sort of forget about it, especially when I don't set it up as a project. So immediately after I check off a task like this, I just think about what is the next action that's required of me. And in this case, it would be checking up if I got a reply in, let's say, 3 days. So I just create a new task, and it's really easy for me. I just hit spacebar because I have this quick add strategy enabled. And I just say check up on table return email. And I schedule it for 3 days in the future. Now, if I get a reply in the meantime and it comes to this day where I have this task set up for myself, I will know that I've already dealt with it, I've already maybe taken the next step, and I can just delete it. I could also do this as the email comes in. This kind of depends on your workflow. And of course, I have other rules in place about checking on my email. For most people, this is something they do anyway. So when I check the email and I know I've gotten a reply and there's a next step for me in that email, I will then create that task in Marvin. So this is how I deal with things like that, and I hope this was helpful for you.